There's a moment when you notice your hands don't quite look like the ones you remember. The same hands that once buttoned tiny coats, planted spring flowers, or held a lover's cheek, now show the quiet work of time. The veins a little more visible. The skin a little thinner. It's not just about appearance. It's that strange moment when your body reminds you, gently, or not so gently, that you're living in a different season of life. And yet, no one warned you, did they? Not about this part. Not about the little betrayals of the body or the surprising twists of the heart that come with age. They told you to save for retirement. They talked about pensions and blood pressure. But they didn't say anything about the silence after a long day, or the way people start to speak to you like you're not fully there. They didn't mention that sometimes, even in a crowded room, you might feel a little invisible. Let me tell you about Harold. He's 79, a retired carpenter who used to run his own small business. Sharp as ever, but now he says he feels like people look past him. I went to the hardware store last week, he told me, and the young guy behind the counter talked to me like I didn't know what a Phillips head screwdriver was. He laughed when he said it, but then added, "Thing is, I built my first kitchen cabinets before he was even born." This is the first truth of aging that nobody really warns you about. You can feel invisible, even when you're still very much alive inside. It's not always intentional. The world just moves fast, and when you're no longer in its rush, it can feel like people forget to slow down and see you. Younger people rarely notice it. But for those of us who've lived enough to remember vinyl records and handwritten letters, it's clear, society has a habit of sidelining its elders, even as it quietly builds its foundations on their shoulders. But don't let that invisibility fool you. Your presence still matters. Deeply. The world may not always say it, but your wisdom is woven into every part of life around you. The trick is, sometimes, you have to remind it. Speak up in that waiting room. Make eye contact with the person at the counter. Tell your story, even if it takes an extra moment. You are not a shadow. You are the sun behind it. Now, here's the second truth, and it comes quietly at first, until one day it doesn't. Your social circle begins to shrink. It's not because you stopped being friendly. It's because life, in its natural way, starts to pull people in different directions. Friends move. Loved ones pass. Children grow into their own orbits. And without meaning to, you look around and realize the calls come less often. The invitations slow down. The holidays are quieter. Irene, a 76-year-old former librarian, put it this way: it's like living in a beautiful town that slowly loses its streetlights. You remember where everything is, but it all feels dimmer. She didn't say it with sadness, just a kind of quiet truth. One that many people feel but rarely voice. The hardest part? It's not always about grief. Sometimes it's just change. And adjusting to change in your later years can feel like learning a new language when you're already fluent in a beautiful, older one. But here's the thing, shrinking doesn't have to mean disappearing. New friendships can still bloom, even at 80. Connections can be sparked in the most unexpected places: a community garden, a shared bench at the park, even a neighbor you've nodded to for years but never really spoken with. And if you're watching this now, maybe it's time to reach out. Make that call. Join that group. Say hello first. You're still allowed to be curious. Still allowed to meet new people, tell new stories, start fresh conversations. And if this resonates so far, I'd love for you to tap that like button. It helps more people find this message. And leave a comment below. Have you ever felt a little invisible lately? Or found a surprising new friend in later life? Your voice might encourage someone else watching. Let's keep going, because the third truth, it's something you've likely already felt in your bones. It starts gradually. A little more effort getting out of the chair. A strange fatigue after a short walk you've done 100 times before. And then one day, you're brushing your teeth and realize you're gripping the sink just a bit tighter to stay balanced. The third truth of aging? Your body starts to speak to you in a new language, and it's not always kind. For George, a former postman who used to walk 10 miles a day delivering mail, it came as a surprise. "I thought I'd always be on my feet," he said. "But now, just walking down the block feels like I'm dragging a memory of who I used to be." He chuckled softly, then added, "And don't even get me started on stairs." We don't often talk about how disorienting it can be when your body changes faster than your identity does. You may still feel young in your spirit, still dream in full color, still laugh at the same old jokes, but your knees don't always get the memo. Your back stages little rebellions. Your energy dips like a dimmer switch that's not quite under your control. And yet, there's a hidden strength in this truth. Because when your body demands gentleness, it also invites awareness. You begin to move with more intention. You notice small things. You learn to listen, really listen, to what your body needs, not just what your mind expects. That's what Clara learned. She's 82 now, and once ran community dance classes for over 2 decades. These days, she still sways in her kitchen to the radio while she stirs her tea. "I can't jump like I used to," she said, "but I can still move with joy. I just do it softer now." The mistake many make is believing these changes are a kind of failure. They're not. They're the body's way of asking for a new rhythm, slower, yes, but still deeply meaningful. And if you're wondering how to keep up when your energy doesn't match your to-do list, here's a simple idea: honor your body as it is today. That means pacing yourself, eating foods that nourish instead of deplete, and choosing movement that supports rather than strains. No, it won't turn back the clock. But it can help you feel more at home in the moment you're living now, which, truthfully, is the only one we ever really have. Now the fourth truth, and it's a quiet one. You won't read it in many books, but almost everyone I've spoken with in their 70s, 80s, and beyond agrees. You begin to lose your sense of certainty about the future. It's not fear, exactly. It's more like fog. In your younger years, you could count on things: your schedule, your body, your family being near, your home staying the same. But with age, things shift. Sometimes quickly. You start to realize how unpredictable everything really is. Health can change in a week. A neighbor moves. A spouse forgets a name. Your own memory betrays you for a moment, or more. It's unsettling. Because most of us find comfort in routine, in structure, in knowing what to expect. But aging has a way of pulling the rug just slightly, and asking you to find your balance again, over and over. I spoke with a woman named Beatrice, 84, a widow, living on her own in a small apartment. "I used to plan everything," she told me. Vacations, birthdays, even how I'd decorate the house each season. Now, I plan less. I still enjoy things. But I've learned to let go of needing everything to be certain. Her secret? She said it was about replacing control with presence. She lights a candle in the morning. Says goodnight to her husband's old photo each evening. Keeps a handwritten calendar, but gives herself permission to leave it blank if she's tired. There's a surprising peace in surrendering the illusion of control. It's not giving up, it's tuning in. Learning to hold plans lightly, and moments tightly. And if this resonates with you, if you've ever found yourself staring at your calendar with more questions than answers, you are far from alone. Comment below if you've learned a way to cope with unpredictability in recent years. You never know who your insight might comfort. And speaking of insight, the fifth truth may be the hardest to say out loud. But that's exactly why we must. It's the truth most people tiptoe around, even though it stands quietly in nearly every room we sit in these days. The fifth truth of aging? You begin to experience more goodbyes than you ever expected to carry. No one prepared us for how many. For how often. For how silently it creeps in, the empty chair at the table, the name you no longer dial, the holiday card you forget you won't receive this year. It's not just about loss in the big, dramatic way. Sometimes, it's subtle, like forgetting to tell someone something important, and then realizing it's too late. Frank, 81, told me something that struck me deeply. He said, "The hardest part isn't just losing people. It's having memories with no one left who remembers them with you." He lost his wife 6 years ago, and though he's surrounded by loving children and grandchildren, he says there are parts of himself that only she truly knew, and now, those parts float around like ghosts. There's a loneliness that comes with this truth, even for people who aren't alone. You may be in a full room and still feel the hollow spot where someone used to sit. You may laugh, but it catches in your throat halfway, because you're remembering a moment you can't share anymore. It's okay. That doesn't mean you're broken. It means you loved deeply. And in a way, that's the gift within the grief. You feel the loss so keenly because the connection was so real. So lived in. So fiercely yours. But here's the part no one tells you: grief doesn't disappear, but it can soften. It stretches itself out across time until, slowly, the ache begins to live alongside your joy instead of drowning it. You still miss them. Of course, you do. But one day, you'll tell their story with more smiles than tears. That's how they live on. And if you're grieving now, a spouse, a sibling, a dear friend, even a beloved pet, know this: you don't have to move on. You just have to move forward. One moment at a time. And maybe today, that means remembering them with your favorite cup of tea in hand. Maybe it means saying their name out loud. Now, if this feels a little too heavy, I understand. But we're not here to avoid truth. We're here to walk through it, together. That's what this space is for. If someone you loved is on your mind, feel free to write their name in the comments. Sometimes sharing it helps more than you think. Alright, let's breathe. The sixth truth. You begin to reflect on your past, not just with nostalgia, but with a deep need to make peace. This one catches many people off guard. Because you might have gone through decades just living life, solving problems, caring for others, always looking forward. But in this season of life, the past starts calling. You remember things, old conversations, old regrets, old kindnesses. Sometimes it feels like flipping through a photo album in your heart. And sometimes, it's not all pleasant. Martha, who's 78 now, shared something quietly during our conversation: "I still think about my sister. We had a falling out when we were young, and we never really fixed it. She passed last year, and I find myself writing letters to her in my head. Apologizing. Remembering the way she used to braid my hair." That's the thing about aging, it brings things to the surface that we once buried beneath busyness. You may find yourself wondering, did I do right by the people I loved? Did I live in a way that honored who I really am? Did I matter? If these questions sound familiar, let me reassure you, they're not signs of regret. They're signs of wisdom. You're doing the sacred work of taking inventory, and that's a brave and beautiful thing. Making peace with the past doesn't always mean tying every loose end. It sometimes just means letting yourself hold your story with gentleness, even the messy chapters. You don't need to rewrite them. You just need to see them with clear eyes and a softened heart. If you feel called to reach out to someone, do it. If you want to say something you've held onto for years, say it, even if only in a letter you never send. Closure, it turns out, is something you can give yourself. And as you reflect, don't forget to honor all the good you've done, because I promise you, there's more of it than you're giving yourself credit for. Now, we've reached the final truth. And though it may sound like an ending, it's actually where something quietly hopeful begins. The seventh truth of aging. You start to wonder more often, what now? Not in the panicked, midlife sort of way. Not even in the way you used to plan for next year's vacation or your grandchild's birthday. It's a quieter question. A deeper one. When the kids don't need you in the same way, when the career has long since ended, when your mornings are slower and your afternoons stretch long, you start to ask, what do I want to do with the time I have left? And what even counts as enough now? That's what Leonard, 85, wrestled with after his wife passed. I had no idea what to do with myself, he said. I had all this space, and no direction. For a while, I just watched television. But after a few months, I realized I still wanted to be useful. I just didn't know how. So he started fixing old watches. Found some online tutorials. Repaired one for his neighbor. Then another. Before long, people were bringing him broken timepieces from all over town. It's funny, he told me, I spent so much time trying to fix the time I had lost, and in doing that, I found time I didn't know I still had. What now? Maybe that question isn't a burden. Maybe it's an invitation. Because aging, in all its rawness and beauty, doesn't mean your story is done. It just means the next chapter has fewer distractions, and more freedom to write what truly matters. You could mentor someone. Start journaling. Volunteer. Share your family stories so they aren't lost. Learn a small skill you've always admired. Or simply enjoy the morning sun with no guilt about not doing something. Purpose doesn't have to be loud or grand. Sometimes it's just being fully present for a friend who needs listening. Or nurturing a houseplant with the same care you once gave to a garden. Or calling your grandchild just to say, I thought of you today. And if you ever feel like it's too late, or that the best parts of life are behind you, let me gently remind you, you're still here. That means something. That means everything. Your wisdom still has places to go. Your voice still matters in this noisy world. And even if no one warned you about these truths, even if some of them hurt, you have the rare chance to face them with open eyes and an open heart. So as we close this space together, I want to thank you. For showing up today. For being willing to look inward. For sitting with honesty and grace. If any part of this touched you, please take a moment to like this video or leave a comment, not for me, but for the next person who's searching for a bit of comfort or clarity. Let them find your words waiting there, like a hand on the shoulder. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing. This channel is a place built for you, where we gently explore the things others leave unspoken, and where your experience is not just respected, it's cherished. And before we go, one final note, a small truth from me to you. Sometimes, we use tools like AI to help craft these stories, to shape the words you hear into something clear, calming, and meaningful. But as careful as we are, little imperfections can slip in. If a phrase felt odd or something sounded off, it wasn't meant to. That's just the human side of using technology. Thank you for being patient with it, and with us. Until next time, stay gentle with yourself. You've made it this far, and that is no small thing.